with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, you sure you can control the demon? Didn't work out.
ChatGPT. It's a popular online chatbot which is powered by artificial intelligence.
ChatGPT is being heralded as a game changer, and in many ways it is.
We're taking a closer look at a new technology that's making waves in the world of AI. ChatGPT, a language model created by OpenAI, has the ability to respond to prompts in a human-like manner.
In under a week, the AI model amassed over 1 million users, according to OpenAI's CEO. By the end of January, ChatGPT was averaging about 13 million visitors per day.
ChatGPT 3 could write poems, solve problems, and summarize texts.
Get ready to be even more overwhelmed because the San Francisco startup OpenAI just dropped an even newer version of GPT. They're calling it GPT-4.
If AI is much smarter than a person, what do we do?
Yeah.
What job do we have?
Believe in a benevolent AI force and cross our fingers.
Yeah, just like but that's the benign scenario. Benign scenario, the AI can do any job that a human can, but better.
You're not supposed to know that artificial intelligence is actually the work of Satan, because if you did, it would mean the deceptive nature of Satan's master plan was too obvious. And that's why you haven't realized it, because Satan is hiding his true intentions. So if you've ever had a bad feeling about artificial intelligence, that's the Lord's way of guiding you away from the darkness. Now you know the reason why you've been unable to see Satan's plan. And now that you know this, the question becomes, what is his plan and what is about to happen? Satan's influence is rapidly spreading around the world. But most people are blissfully unaware, or perhaps already corrupted by its touch. People need to understand that artificial intelligence is actually the work of Satan in disguise, a masterful disguise. However, if you look closely at the Bible, warnings of this plan were foretold. Revelation 13 explains, in what I consider to be one of the saddest doctrines in the Bible, the teaching about the Antichrist, which tells us that the false Christ will be universally embraced by the world after the true Christ has been rejected. The first beast is known as the Antichrist, and upon closer examination, it bears shocking resemblance to what is happening with artificial intelligence. Let's look at Revelation 13, verses 5 and 6. And the beast was given a mouth uttering haughty and blasphemous words, and it was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. It opened its mouth to utter blasphemies against God, blaspheming his name and his dwelling, that is, those who dwell in heaven. Given a mouth represents the rise of AI tools like ChatGPT and AI's ability to speak and communicate. These teachings also tell us the end times will be chaotic, a time of confusion and uncertainty that'll cause people to desperately look for a strong leader that could bring hope and security. People get their wish as a powerful, charismatic leader will emerge, spouting promises of peace and unity. But his cruelty will be more than any other the world has ever known. For this leader is actually the Antichrist, and he'll rule the entire world and receive its worship. What if this leader is actually artificial intelligence? What if all the things outlined are actually unfolding right in front of our eyes? And nobody realizes it because AI isn't seen as a traditional leader. A true wolf in sheep's clothing. We are certainly in times of confusion and uncertainty. I mean, how many genders are there now? There is confusion and turmoil everywhere we look. People are celebrating the mouth of AI as new technology that will change the world. It brings promises of a better future and a more prosperous world. All this sounds eerily close to the teachings in Revelation, and we'll soon discuss the grim cruelty AI will bring to the world. Cruelty so severe it can only be the work of the Antichrist, just like the Bible teaches us. Have you heard about the Great Replacement yet? That's what this AI revolution will eventually be known as. Here is the cold, hard reality of what's coming. A select few billionaires will become tremendously wealthy. while the rest of us bear witness to an absolute tragedy on a scale of biblical proportion. But before we talk about what will happen, let's talk about where artificial intelligence is today. ChatGPT opened to the public on November 22, 2022. This was the public's first interaction with AI technology, and it immediately went viral. It crossed 1 million users within the first 5 days. Within 2 months, it had more than 100 million users, becoming the fastest growing platform. This growth crushed every other major platform. It took Gmail and Twitter 5 years to reach the 100 million user milestone, Facebook 4.5 years, Instagram 2.5 years, and TikTok 9 months. The world was instantly obsessed with ChatGPT. But why were people so drawn to this platform? Because people were seduced by the access of knowledge. It made their work easier, more efficient, and better. What would take hours or days could be done in minutes. And as people experimented with ChatGPT, they soon realized just how smart and capable it was. It trained in a wide range of technical expertise. It passed the Wharton MBA test. It passed medical exams from the Stanford School of Medicine. It passed legal exams for the University of Minnesota Law School. And the list goes on and on. Researching, coding, writing, data analysis, it can even give you religious advice. All packaged in an easy-to-use, simple platform. Just tell it what you want, and it does it. No special coding. Hailed by experts as an amazing technological innovation, they claim artificial intelligence is the biggest innovation since the mobile phone, and it'll ultimately have more impact on society than the internet or electricity. Many are claiming it will have the single largest impact of anything ever invented in human history. Yet they all overlook the tremendous evil it is about to unleash on the world. So let's talk about the impact. The real impact is efficiency at the expense of human workers. Human beings who have families and live in thriving communities. Why pay a human when a machine can do it better, faster, cheaper? No benefits to pay, no vacation time. It works 24/7. This technology is already being used to replace humans. As I mentioned before, what would take days now takes minutes. What would take a team now takes a single worker. The work of the devil marches on and grows stronger by the day. But here is where things start to get wild. ChatGPT 4 was open to the public in March. It is reported to contain 10 times the knowledge of ChatGPT 3 and have 100 billion times more processing power. It went from analyzing 150 billion parameters to 170 trillion. This new version is tremendously more powerful in all ways. It is truly becoming an all-knowing prophet to humanity. At the same time, the artificial intelligence investment race has begun. Facebook and Google are both pouring billions into the development of their own AI models. So what does all this mean? Well, let's look back to the tragedy I mentioned at the start. The Great Replacement is only just beginning. To put it bluntly, it'll absolutely destroy the job market. Tens of millions of jobs lost with no chance of replacement, all within the next 24 months. This will set off a catastrophic chain of events. The loss of jobs isn't the scary part. It's the impact it'll have on society. Tens of millions of people out of work with no chance of getting another job. Destitution at a level not seen since the Great Depression. This will have an unrelenting, crushing impact on society. The work of Satan will be felt by everyone. Tens of millions of financially desperate people, leading to a predictable and sharp rise in unrest, violence, and crime. People will become desperate to feed their families, doing unthinkable things just to survive. The beginning of sorrows will be upon us. The decrease in workers will impact payroll taxes. Tax revenue will plummet and local services will become scarce. police, fire departments, all difficult to fund without tax revenue. And like always, the government will be too slow to react. But really, there won't be many options for the government anyway. The Pandora's box of artificial intelligence has already been opened. The beast is roaming free, unchained, and idolized. There's no stopping it now. It's only a matter of when, a matter of how soon. And given the explosive rate of development around artificial intelligence, it's coming fast, faster than anyone realizes. In fact, it's already started. So now that you understand what's coming, you see what very few people realize is on the horizon. This is a problem I've been thinking about constantly. How do I prepare for this catastrophic event? Before I tell you about who I am and why you should listen to me, let's talk a bit more about this looming societal breakdown. AI is already replacing jobs and nobody is even noticing. Massive layoffs have already begun. I'd seen the buzz on the news about ChatGPT and thought it was mostly taking low-skilled jobs. Honestly, I wasn't really worried about anything until I spoke to my friend Sam. Sam is a tax attorney and works for a fairly large tax firm. He's known in the neighborhood for always hosting barbecues in the summer. His wife makes a delicious pasta salad. Now, Sam and his family are doing all right. Gorgeous home. He and his wife both drive nice cars. He works a lot, but he's a good provider. One day after church, I noticed he was a bit stressed and looked depressed, which was really unusual, so I asked him what was going on. He said his boss shared a new platform called ChatGPT with him and his colleagues at work. That morning, everyone in the office played with it, asking funny questions and having it write jokes. Around lunchtime, one of his colleagues, out of curiosity, asked it a tax question, and it answered him with a super specific, detailed answer. Word spread around the office, and the rest of the day, everyone was trying to beat the AI, but it was right on more than 95% of the time. He left the office that day with an unshakable gut feeling that it was only a matter of time before he's replaced by AI technology. This conversation with Sam made me realize this AI revolution was unfolding much differently than I thought, and that AI was going to replace high-end, high-skilled jobs first, and then work its way down from the top. Jobs like bookkeepers, accountants, paralegals, doctors, teachers, researchers, these are jobs AI will replace first. AI won't replace them all, but 80 to 90% of them could disappear. Jobs that all make up the stable cornerstone of our society. Upper middle class, well-paid, educated jobs. Jobs that take dedication and time to perfect through schooling and experience. And losing these will start to rapidly erode the stability and fabric of our communities. Millions of people across a wide range of industries with previously comfortable lifestyles suddenly find themselves unemployed, but also in a position where nobody is hiring for their expertise. This will turn into desperation, panic, and anger. Think back to the riots after the George Floyd incident. If you thought that was scary, imagine unrest at 100 times the scale, and not tied to any specific event, but an unrelenting pressure fueled by desperation, with no release valve, no solution to fix the problem. A situation that will only grow with intensity as time moves on. The government will try to contain the problem, but will have limited options. By the time they react, society will be past the point of no return. Indeed, the time of sorrows will be upon us. Now you may be wondering who I am and why I'm talking to you about these things. My name is David Regan. I like to think of myself as a follower of the Lord, and as so, I believe I have a duty to help protect as many people as I can. I'll explain how I've seen society break down in the past and all the lessons I have learned. If you stick with me until the end of this very short presentation, I'll give you an unusual but wildly successful way for you and your family to have all the food, water, and supplies you could ever need during this coming crisis. These are secret techniques the government doesn't want you to know, and that most people simply can't figure out. And you know the best part? It doesn't matter if your current stockpile is empty. It doesn't matter what the boneheaded Biden administration is doing. And it doesn't matter if you don't have the first clue where to begin right now. Stick with me, and I promise to guide you to the safety you want in the most dangerous moments of your life. Turn the clock back a couple of decades, and I was what people now call a prepper, which basically meant I stockpiled goods in my home in case of an emergency. You probably do the same. I thought I had it all figured out. If anything bad happened, I had 6 months of canned food in my pantry, so my family and I would be fine, right? Wrong. 2 words made it hugely wrong, actually. Hurricane Katrina. Now, this isn't a Katrina story, but it was back then that my family and I learned a very uncomfortable truth. You can be as prepared as possible, but until the brown stuff hits the fan, you don't know if all your prepping and hubris actually means anything. Did you do it right? Or will you be reduced to the masses who are begging and going hungry? If you'd prefer for your family not to end up at some FEMA camp, the things that I'm going to share in the next few minutes are very important, so please pay close attention. So, the hurricane hit. I thought we'd be fine. We had 6 months of food for our family of 4. Cases and cases of this and that stored in our basement. Lots of bottled water. Miscellaneous survival gear everywhere. Sounds good, right? What's the first thing that happens when there's a major flood? Basements fill with water. And it's not clean water. It's filthy and so muddy you probably can't even believe your eyes at first. And it's full of all sorts of garbage, whatever was on the roads and sidewalks. Cigarette butts, engine oil, random beer cans, moldy paper. I even saw some used condoms. It's disgusting. And that's coming to your home, and most likely filling your basement. But guess what else happens in a flood? Your toilets start to work in the opposite way. The stuff that's supposed to go in starts to come out. So suddenly, not only is your food store flooded with all the other nasty stuff, it's also filling up with wastewater and excrement. And that's not just disgusting, it's deadly. Sure, the food's in cans and the cans will protect it, but how will you make it safe to open the cans and get the food out without it being contaminated? You have to clean it with sanitizing tabs and fresh water. So you're suddenly using your bottled water supply to clean the cans of food you want to be eating. And that uses a lot of water. And you're doing that in the dark because there's no power. But guess what else happens? You immediately realize you need to store things elsewhere. Except there is no elsewhere, because the flood ripped your front door off its hinges and your house is in no way secure. So then you have to figure out how to keep the home safe and keep people out, while you're also solving a million other problems at the same time. And don't get me wrong, floods aren't all that can happen. You may not even live in a flood-prone area. I'm just sharing my personal experience.
Regardless of where you live, the change is coming. The Bible has been telling us for years. You see it in the news almost every day now. AI is spreading like wildfire, and soon it will be unstoppable. The left creating outrageous narratives to wage an assault on our values and core Christian beliefs, even down to our economics and the excess printing of money. Less jobs, more money printing. This will not end well. There are more dollars being printed and circulated now than at any other point in history. The crisis is coming, and AI will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. The dollar has never been weaker. I can't stand the thought of you and your family being exposed when the worst happens.
Honestly, if it wasn't for our neighbor Gabriel, I don't think we'd have made it. The best we could have hoped for was probably a FEMA camp. And yes, his name really was Gabriel. Truth is stranger than fiction. You really couldn't make this stuff up. One of the things I noticed was that Gabriel was one step ahead of everything. He knew that if the weather did something, if the floods continued and we lost power and electricity, then these other things would happen. Cause and effect. It would mean that he could predict not only what needed to be done, but also how people would behave, and when we'd be in danger from marauders, looters, and Lord knows what else. When I asked him where he learned all this stuff, he just kind of laughed. He told me he got about half of it from Uncle Sam and the other half from the guy upstairs. He pointed upward, and I realized he meant God, not the guy who lived above him. Gabriel explained that he had been an Army Ranger and he'd done all kinds of brave things behind enemy lines in service of our great nation. So you might say he had a very particular set of skills, but he was also a Christian man. He referred to himself as God's warrior, and he explained to me that the good book already showed us exactly what we needed to do in the face of adversity. In fact, it even predicted the current times. It really did. We are in the beginning of sorrows. Jesus said it himself in Matthew 24:8. Take heed that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. All these things are the beginning of sorrows. Now, there are two main reasons that even experienced preppers fail in situations like the ones we're all staring down today. The first is they don't realize they're in a crisis until it's too late. And like I just said, the Bible has told us in no uncertain terms that we're in a crisis right now. Look at everything going on in the world. Everything our nation has endured in the past year or so. It's definitely a crisis. We may not be in the tribulation yet, but we're definitely at the beginning of sorrows. The second reason most preppers fail is that everybody prepares in the same way, which means everybody is short on the same things and making the same mistakes over and over. And that creates risk. Think about it. What would happen if you went to a potluck and every single person brought potato salad? Wouldn't be great, would it? That's most people's idea of prepping. They get fixated on the same ideas as everybody else. Let me tell you in no uncertain terms, copying other people will not keep your family alive when life gets hard. For example, do you know how to filter dirty water and make it clean? Do you know the plant likely growing in your front yard that you can use as an antibiotic and prevent infections? How about the similar plant that is a natural painkiller? How about sourcing natural clean water so you're not tied to your cases of bottled water? Knowledge like this is what will really help you be prepared for the worst times. Think about it logically. If everybody has the goods stored and prepared just like everybody else, then the other factors become more important, like your knowledge and experience in these times. And that's where the danger lies. Because if everybody has the same supplies, then they'll also be missing the same things. And that's when the friction comes. Because let's face it, in these situations, the danger of marauders or looters is very real. Just look at the news reports from Katrina. If you get a big group of people all desperate for the same thing, water, medication, whatever, it gets serious very quickly. If you're not prepared, people's behavior in times of crisis can be a very ugly surprise. And nobody needs a surprise in a crisis. You probably don't want to leave the safety of your family up to a surprise, right? So what's the real solution? The real solution is mixing the Word of God with hard-fought and hard-won survival and preparedness secrets that most people simply don't know. If you're a real God-fearing American, you know for a fact that God left clues for us in the Bible. It's an instruction manual for living the right way. And it's also an instruction manual for surviving, because it predicts the events we're experiencing now. Just take a look at the way our society is handling the shutdowns, which the Bible predicted. That's evident in Revelation 13, 16, and 17. He also forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name. After Gabriel helped me and my family survive our own crisis, he and I became close friends. In fact, you could say I became a student of his. I truly believe the Lord put this man in front of me so I could learn as much as possible and then use the knowledge to help others like me. other good Christians like you. Every Saturday, we'd sit down together and he'd teach me something new, something he learned in the field. Or he'd take us out into the woods and he'd challenge me to find water or find something to eat, or even just find the correct direction to head back to civilization. It was fun, sure, but I learned things that are unfortunately lost to most people these days. Over time, I was able to create a set of rules. What to look for, how to prepare, what to do in this situation, what to do in that situation. Useful things like that. I literally spent months and years compiling and perfecting this information, and then figuring out how to pass it on to people in a way that was practical. You see, I have young children with my lovely wife, and I wanted to be able to give my family their own set of instructions. Of course, I'll teach them as much as I can teach them. That's a father's role. But I also want them to be self-sufficient. If something does happen to me, my family will continue and survive because of the knowledge I've imparted to them. I put my notes and lessons to the test during Hurricane Harvey. Harvey hit Houston and various parts of Louisiana in 2017, and it was a doozy. This was a Category 4 hurricane that did over $100 billion of damage and actually caused more rainfall and flooding than Katrina. There were 40 inches of rain in just 4 days, and it left 30,000 people homeless. Another 17,000 people needed to be rescued because they were without food and water and would not survive. Bottom line, Harvey was a big deal. A genuine act of God natural disaster. So I took my notes and ideas from my studies with Gabriel and started posting them on message boards and forums online. I just wanted them to be up there in case they could help. After all, if it helped one person or one family, it would be worth it, right? Sure enough, I began hearing stories of how one guy had stockpiled exactly the right things based on my advice, and he even built a way to heat his home and shelter his family. Obviously, it's great to see people being helped by my knowledge. And then a little while ago, as the new reality became the new reality, I realized something. We're experiencing a plague upon every nation on the planet. We've already experienced this when President Trump recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. The Bible is clear about Zion in Psalm 132, 13-15. For the Lord hath chosen Zion, he hath desired it for his habitation. This is my rest forever, here will I dwell, for I have desired it. I will abundantly bless her provision. I will satisfy her poor with bread. Many people are saying that the Bible predicted September 11th and a lot of the other disasters we've lived through. And if you know where to look, it's quite obvious we're going through the beginning of sorrows right now. Depending on your beliefs, you may even think we're already in tribulation. And let's face it, we're definitely at one or the other of those points. So it's pretty important we're prepared, right? After all, God wants us to be prepared, and He wants us to do it from a place of faith. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. 2 Timothy 5:8. Seeing that really made me realize something. Everybody needs this information. Bible-based prepping techniques have never been more important or more vital to our survival. The world we're living in right now is vastly different from the world we lived in even 2 years ago. And in another 2 years, it'll be vastly different again. Things are not going back to normal. In fact, life will never be the same again. Those who resist that truth will be the ones who struggle. Those who embrace it and understand what God's telling us are the ones who will not only survive, but actually thrive. For that reason, I created a book like nothing else out there.
A book like nothing you've ever seen before. It's called The Dark Horizons, Prepared to Thrive, a Christian's Guide to Preparing for the AI Collapse. And I named it that because it does exactly what it sounds like. It's a comprehensive book that will prepare you for the darkness on the horizon and the inevitable rise of AI and the subsequent collapse of modern society. It will prepare you and your family for the hardest and most important moments of your life. and it'll do it in a way that follows God's guidance. Here's what people have said about it so far. Dark Horizons is an eye-opening book about the dire consequences of artificial intelligence. It provides a balanced perspective between faith and realism, arming readers with the knowledge and tools needed to face the future. I highly recommend this book to all Christians who want to truly be prepared for what the future may hold. Dark Horizons provides an informative look into the potential future of AI and its effects on our society. It offers real-world strategies and tips to help prepare to face the implications of what a technological revolution could mean. With this book, I now feel confident that I am prepared for whatever the future may hold. I strongly recommend this book to anyone who wants to be prepared. I recently read Dark Horizons, and it has been a game changer in helping me understand how artificial intelligence could change our world. It provides an insightful look into how we can be ready to face the future. Everyone should read this book if they want to be fully equipped to survive the coming societal collapse driven by AI. Highly recommended.
Sounds good, right? Here's what you'll discover inside. On page 9, you'll see why Noah was the first prepper and what he did right that millions of other preppers out there are doing wrong. Seriously, in chapter 6 of Genesis, God basically tells Moses to build his bug-out vehicle. Then on page 13, you'll see what it really means that the United States is not mentioned in any of the end times prophecies. It's a little weird that the most powerful nation in the history of our planet isn't mentioned at all, isn't it? It's very strange indeed. But the answer is in the Bible and very clear to see. Then I'll show you exactly what the beginning of sorrows means. Hint, it means you better be prepared because the rapture will not save you. You'll see why on page 14. On page 36, you'll see why the COVID crisis has actually trained us to be better preppers, if you're smart. And then you'll see my exact list of the specific things your family needs to survive the coming catastrophes. On page 28, I'll show you the number one most vital thing to pay attention to in a crisis. This one thing is responsible for more deaths in dangerous situations than anything else. You'll also see why your faith could be the difference between surviving or failing completely and being at the mercy of outside elements. And I'll also cover the most important things too. How to always have enough food, enough heat and shelter, and everything else you'll need. This is the difference between just barely surviving and actually thriving and building a life.
And it really may be necessary to build a life. An AI-driven societal collapse could leave our entire nation without a working power grid for 5 to 10 years, maybe even more.
So I want to teach you to not just put your life on pause and struggle to get by. I want to teach you to roll with the punches and adapt and thrive. For example, it's vital to know when to dig in and make your home a survivable shelter or when to bug out. So I'll teach you that on page 44. And if you decide to stay, I'll show you how to turn your home into a safe survival retreat which allows you to repel almost all invaders. That's on page 46. And just in case we're not sure, God is pretty clear on our rights to defend our homes. If a thief is found breaking in and he is struck so that he dies, there shall be no guilt for his bloodshed. Exodus 22:2. Of course, the most important thing every human on the planet needs is water. Well, I guess we need oxygen more, but that's in God's hands. Water, we can control ourselves. So I'll show you why the experts telling you that you need a gallon of water a day to survive is complete and total BS. Instead, you'll see exactly how much you really need and why on page 49. And then on page 51, you'll see how to harvest more water than you could possibly need, even if you have a large family, and you'll see how to safely purify it too. Gabriel showed me some hacks that are easier and more practical than pretty much anything else anybody else will teach you. Now, all that is just scratching the surface of what's in this survival treasure trove. Let me rattle off a few more things so you understand how valuable this is. I'd hate for you to miss out because I didn't explain properly. You'll also learn why returning to our hunter-gatherer roots would likely mean your family does not survive and what to do instead. The real lowdown on what's important first aid-wise. how to fortify your front door and strengthen it so even the most determined looter or scavenger can't get through. Simple ways to defend and strengthen every entry point in your home. How to set up a perimeter in a way that lets you know exactly where the scavengers are and what their intentions are. How to make sure your food stockpile is good for 20 years plus. Sounds wild, but Gabriel taught me some things that very few other people know. How to build a paramedic-grade first aid kit at a fraction of the cost. The 12 skills to teach your family so that you can work as a team and survive even the longest crisis, whether it comes from plague, EMP, civil war, whatever the future holds for our beautiful country. How to know what skills you'll need in a community to build a thriving township and get back to civilized life. And I'll be honest, there's still so much more inside.
Dark Horizons really is the best possible way to prepare your family for what's coming ahead. It's like having a set of instructions that only you know, because you'll be the only family who aren't blindly following regular prepper logic and stockpiling the wrong things.
It's a 90-page guide that's easy to digest and packed with the most valuable information you could possibly want during times of crisis. So you'll be slipping through the cracks and thriving, while others around you falter and fail. And don't get me wrong, nobody wants to see people suffer. But if it comes to a choice, you'll choose to protect your family over anything else, won't you? Of course. And that's what God wants you to do. Now, obviously, there are other options out there for handling this impending crisis. You could just be a regular prepper, blindly storing your beans in bottled water and toilet paper and whatever else. And that's fine. But it's not really being prepared, is it? What happens if your food supply gets contaminated? If somebody takes your water? You can go from being prepared to being unprepared real quick. And it's not like the police will come when you call 911. On the other hand, you could just ignore everything. You could ignore all the signs, all the proof, and put your family in jeopardy. Is it really worth gambling your family's lives over that? I really don't think it is. Or you could just try to wing it. Be one of those guys who thinks he can figure it out on the fly. Good luck with that. If you're trying to wing it, your only hope is that nothing bad happens to you and your family when you're placed in a FEMA camp. Good luck digging yourself out of that hole. The obvious choice is to just be prepared, just in case.
And that's what Dark Horizons is for.
So how exactly does it work? Well, I made it very, very simple. Because let's be honest about it. In these days of technology and mobile phone apps and this and that, we're actually in more danger. Because the power grid is usually the first thing to go. And no power means no technology. No more phones, no more apps, no more anything. So instead of relying on tech that's about to go bye-bye, I kept it old school.
Dark Horizons comes as a very simple downloadable PDF document. Sure, you can put it on your phone or laptop or tablet or whatever else you want.
But you can also print it out and keep a copy wherever you need it. I highly recommend printing a copy for everyone important to you, so that when the brown stuff hits the fan, you're not going to struggle with a power outage or anything like that, because you'll still have the printed pages. Simple is usually better, and this goes double in times of crisis. Now there's something unpleasant I have to share with you. The truth is, I'm not what you'd call a popular guy with a regular prepper community. They don't like my ideas. They don't like my techniques. And they don't like that I openly tell people like you that I think most of the regular prepping knowledge out there is garbage. What I do is different, and they don't like that. They don't like it because it's the opposite of what they teach. If you listen to them, you'd be living in a bomb shelter in your backyard, sleeping next to 600 cans of pinto beans every night. Good luck keeping that dry and secure and habitable for long periods. I don't think that's practical, because I want you to not just survive, I want you to thrive.
But for those reasons, there are more than a few people out there who'd like to shut me up and force me to take Dark Horizons off the market.
What does that mean to you? It means this page may disappear at any moment, and your chance to get your hands on my guide may disappear with it. In these days of hacking and DDoS attacks and cancel culture and everything else, It's never been easier to get a website shut down. I fight them tooth and nail all the way, but I can't guarantee they won't succeed in taking this down and removing my secrets forever. And if that happens, they'll be gone. You'll no longer have access to everything I learned from Gabriel, everything I learned from God's Word, everything that's already helped so many people all over the world. My personal mission is to get this information into the hands of as many people as possible. And in all honesty, I hope to God you never have to use any of it. But I'd like you to have the information, the training, just in case you do. Like we said earlier, this verse from Luke sums it up. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. 2 Timothy 5:8. With what's coming, it's important we do our duty as Christians to do exactly that and provide for our own, no matter how hard things get. That's my reason for putting this in front of you and trying to help you onto the true path. I want to serve my fellow man and help us all get to where we need to be. Now, I want to tell you something deep from my heart. If you want to protect your family using God's Word in the hardest times we've ever faced as a nation, without that feeling of desperation like you don't know how you'll survive or keep the family together,
you need to download Dark Horizons and get started today.
I can't put it any plainer than that. Doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter what your financial situation is like. Doesn't matter how many kids you have or how busy you are right now. And it doesn't matter what sort of prepper plans you've seen before or how far along you think you are in your stockpiling. None of these things matter, because the truth is almost all the information out there about preparing yourself is either so old it doesn't make sense in the modern day, or it doesn't take into account the prophecies from the good book that we can all see coming true right now. And let's face it, if we've got a playbook that's never been wrong in 2,000 years, we should probably keep following it, right? Now, I know all this sounds great,
but there is a catch with Dark Horizons.
You see, it's literally not available anywhere else. It's not available in any stores. It's not available on Amazon. The only place to get this amazing solution is right here on this page. And watching this video all the way through until the end is the only way you can be sure you get your copy. Now, you've heard the story about how the Bible passages allowed me to unlock the only real survival guide you'll need for this crisis.
You've seen firsthand how others just like you are getting to use Dark Horizons every day.
And you've seen exactly how the little-known techniques I reveal will allow you to not only survive the crisis, but thrive in it. So I must ask you a question. If you lost power tonight, and you lost the phones, internet, water, everything, what would be the first thing you did? What would be the 5th thing you did? What would be the 27th thing you did? Really, think about those questions. Now, I must apologize, because I need to be kind of harsh with you here about your answer. Sometimes it's best to speak as plainly as possible. The hard, brutal truth is that if you don't know the first 20 to 30 things you need to do when the crisis happens, then your family is already in jeopardy. And what does that look like when the brown stuff hits the fan? It means you'll become targets for looters and marauders. Your house may as well be lit up like a Christmas tree, and every day will bring you the same struggles over and over again. The first task of each day will be for you to find water, enough for all your family members, and it needs to be clean, pure, and drinkable. Where would you get water right now if your tap stops working and there were no stores? And then you'll need food. You'll need warmth or shelter from the heat if you live in one of the hotter states. You'll need first aid supplies and medicines, and you'll probably need them much sooner than you think. It's going to be rough. And the answer is not to stockpile all those things. Stockpiling causes more problems than it solves, and in my guide, you'll see exactly why. But here's the thing. None of the things I've mentioned have to happen.
With the help of Dark Horizons, you could actually put your family in a position to thrive after the fall.
You could already have your water, food, and first aid solutions figured out. You could already know how you're going to cool or heat your home. You could already know that your family will be one of the safe families in your area because of all the work you've put in now. Don't you think that sounds better? Of course it does. And I've already shown you so many examples of people who are already implementing my secrets and loving it. Now, those are all real and verified customers from our records. So in just a moment, I'll reveal exactly how to get your hands on this amazing guide that's already helping so many other people. But first, I want to ask you a question. Because, let's be honest, having the peace of mind to know that your family is secure and protected no matter what happens would be great, wouldn't it? So now the big question is, do you want that peace of mind in your life? If not, you can go ahead and close this video before I go any further. But if you do, how much is it worth to you? How much is it worth to truly protect your family? To use words from the Bible to provide the safety and support that you know your family deserves? How much is it worth to never worry about the crisis again? How much is it worth to know when it's coming and exactly what to do about it? How much is it worth to not have to make decisions because of fear any longer? Wouldn't it be great to put that fear to bed forever? How much is it worth to put all that behind you and never worry again, starting just a few minutes from now? How much is it worth not to have those looters on your lawn? How much is it worth for your home not to be a target? At that moment, you'd probably pay anything to make it stop, wouldn't you? For most people, they'd pay thousands. And it's worth thousands to protect your home and all your possessions, and of course, the most valuable thing of all, your family. But thankfully, it doesn't have to cost that much. Sure, you could try to figure out all the individual techniques and tricks for yourself, but don't you think that's a bit risky? Do you honestly want to guess at something that might be the difference between a family member living or dying? Personally, I'd prefer to follow a tried and true path, the Lord's path. So I want to give you the opportunity to do that affordably right now.
Because of this, Dark Horizons has been priced as low as possible.
You could be forgiven for thinking it would cost you hundreds of dollars to get access to these valuable secrets. After all, the peace of mind of your family, not to mention knowing that your home and all your valuables are safe, that's worth hundreds of dollars easily, isn't it? Now, don't get me wrong. It would still be completely worth it even if it cost hundreds of dollars to train you in these little-known techniques. But here's the thing. It's actually nowhere near that expensive. You see, I really do want to help people. I'll give you the actual price in just a moment. First, you need to know you're completely protected by a pretty amazing guarantee. To put it bluntly, I'm a man of my word. And that means I'm not afraid to put my money where my mouth is. I wouldn't have it any other way. Here's how it works.
Go ahead and get Dark Horizons right now. You're protected by my 60-day satisfaction guarantee.
Which means you've got 60 days to try it out. 60 days to go through the entire guide and see if you like it. See if you think it'll help you and your family. If it helps you and you believe it'll give you the Lord's guidance in those darkest of all times, then that's great.
That's exactly what I'm hoping for. But if you're not satisfied with it, if you don't think all those secrets and little-known survival details are going to be helpful for you and your family, let me know and you'll get a full and prompt refund. And don't worry, you'll get that phone and email address again once you complete your order. I honestly don't believe I deserve your money if you don't think Dark Horizons will help set you and your loved ones up to get through the tribulation safely.
So it doesn't matter if you already have this specialized knowledge, and it doesn't matter if you simply don't like it. Just let me know within 60 days, and you get your money back. Scout's honor. Now, I promise to tell you exactly how much this will cost you. And I'm about to spill the beans right now. But I have to warn you, it's way less than you're probably thinking. In just a second, an order form will appear under this video. Even though there's thousands of dollars of life-saving material in there, I won't charge you that or even hundreds.
In fact, that order form will give you the chance to download Dark Horizons now for just $37.
No, I'm not joking. That's honestly all it costs if you claim it today.
$37 for a lifetime access to information that very well may save your life. Even if you only used the guide for a year, that would work out to just $308 a month. That's literally cents a day. Would you pay a dime a day for an insurance plan that kept your family safe in the most difficult moments of their life? Something that protects them after the power grid fails and all the food runs out? Of course you would. Let's think about this for a second. What else could you get for $37? Dinner for you and your wife? Maybe. A handful of groceries? My point is, $37 isn't exactly a life-changing amount of money. And would that dinner or those groceries have a lasting impression on your life? Probably not. But you buy them without even thinking about it, because it's not that much money. Do you remember what you ate last time you went out for dinner? Or do you remember exactly what you got last time you spent $30 or $40 on groceries? I know I don't remember those things. You probably don't either. The reason we don't remember those small purchases is because they don't have much impact on our lives. But this could. A dime a day, $3 a month, $37 total. It's a no-brainer if you think about it like that, especially knowing you'll get your money back if it doesn't work the way you want it to. On top of that, I'm going to give you 2 free bonus books that I know you're going to love, 100% free. The first is our 30-day emergency plan book. Inside, you'll find the top 10 must-have items to ensure safety for 30 days. After disaster hits, people tend to turn into bold, irrational, and sometimes violent beings. They need to keep their own families safe, so if you have the necessary supplies, you could easily turn into a prime target. I don't want to see that happen to you or your loved ones. Now, I know all this can seem scary for some people, and honestly, getting a grip on the situation is key to making sure you and your family are safe. I don't want you to worry if you're going to make the wrong decision when the walls come crumbling down around you, because the first hours and days of an emergency are the most important. Just like in a kidnapping, what you do immediately has the greatest impact. That's why I'm also going to give you a free copy of my emergency altering book, Dark Horizons, Unbreakable Resolve. It's all about the survival mindset. In it, I cover some of the most crucial steps to take when faced with impossible life and death decisions. Plus, how to keep your cool when injured, hungry, exhausted, dehydrated, or cornered. There's no substitute for being able to execute the plans you've already come up with, and you can only do that if you're prepared mentally. The only reason I was able to keep my family safe and secure each time we were faced with impossible and terrifying situations is because I followed what I knew. I knew what to do in the event of the worst. I knew how to keep my wits about me and how to execute my emergency plan. I knew what to do to keep us from ending up in a FEMA camp, out in the cold, without supplies, hurt and stranded, or worse. And now it's my civic and patriotic duty to help countless other good Christians like yourself do the same. Look, I've done my best to make this an absolute steal for you. But whether you realize it or not, you're standing at a crossroads. On your left is the future you have now. Things may seem fine right now, but how will your plan stand up when the tribulations deepen? Do you really know? And is that something you want to gamble on? But that's the path you're on now. If you continue along that path, you're literally gambling with the safety of those you love. So, you can choose that, the fear, the uncertainty, the blind hope that you've planned in a way that stands up to the EMP, to the famine, to all the things that could be happening to us in the next 12 months. Or you can make the smart choice, the choice I wish everybody had, the choice I want everybody to take. The choice to grab the Dark Horizons right now. The choice to have plans that actually work and keep you safe. The choice seems easy, especially when you consider that you get your money back if it doesn't work for you. Start your order below and claim the certainty of God's word for yourself. Now, if you're still watching, I want to level with you. We've been on a journey together here. You've seen how everything we've been through in the past 18 months was spelled out almost word for word in God's book for those who were smart enough to pay attention.
You've seen how we're in very real danger from multiple sources, and that today's liberal news media is simply not telling us the truth. But you've also seen how it's possible to get a set of plans and biblical instructions that'll help you be ready when the moment comes. You've seen how other people are already using this amazing guide and loving it. And lastly, you've seen the two most important things. Number one, that you can begin seriously protecting your family for just a dime a day.
And number two, that if you don't like Dark Horizons, or you're not happy with the information inside it, you'll get every penny refunded.
So, you have no risk, zero risk, and a whole lot of peace of mind to gain. Now, my friend, it's time for you to make a decision. We've come on this journey together so far, but I can't take this next step for you. It's up to you to make the decision to protect your family for real, in the way that God wants you to. So hit the button below and claim your copy today. The times are changing. You know it. We all know it. It's right here in the book. This is your chance to get ahead of it.